Hi, everybody. Diana here at Heartfelt Creative. Happy Monday. Once again, it's time for Patches and Pieces. Thanks so much for joining me. I love to get together with you and talk about quilting and patchwork piecing. Excuse me, it's a little itchy nose. Really bad allergy time right now. So I hope nobody is suffering with allergies as badly as I am, because boy, it's bad right now. Anyway, I'm so glad to get together and talk about my love and hopefully your love, which is patchwork piecing and quilting. Normally on Mondays we get together and I demonstrate a quilt block. Could be a traditional block, could be something more modern, could be something with applique, just kind of whatever that Monday brings, right? And the video can always be found here on my YouTube channel, or it could be found on my Facebook page, which is Heartfelt Creative with Diana. That's Heartfelt, one word, Creative. With is a W and a backslash Diana. So Heartfelt Creative with Diana. And in the description for today's block, there is the information that you need regarding fabrics and such, okay? So the video will always be here. If you like this video, if you want to see more, if you want to get notified when I do these, please hit the subscribe button here on YouTube and hit that little bell, click that little bell, and that will make sure that you get notified when I put out new content, okay? I also have a new series going called Good Gadgets. I'm kind of a gadget nut. I take after my dad that way. And so just last week we started it and I demonstrated a few sewing, quilting gadgets that I use, not being paid to support any of these companies or any of these products. These are just things that I use as a regular everyday quilter, just like you. So I thought, you know, sometimes I'm looking for things thinking, what might help me with this or that, or gosh, I've seen that, but I don't know how it's used. So on Good Gadgets, that's what I do. I just pick a couple, 1 to 3 products and show them to you, show you how I use them, and give them a little review and try to tell you where you could find them as well. So if you enjoy that, those videos are here on YouTube as well. And it just started last week, so right now there's only one, but go catch it. It was, we did 3 products last week that I think you'll enjoy hearing about. So go check that out. Okay, so it's Monday. And normally if you see me, I have my big flower garden, quote Grandma's Flower Garden, kind of slid over to the side. You can see my sewing set up behind me. You can even see it through this quilt. Look at the sunshine coming in. I am making curtains for this window from that beautiful Tula homemade fabric. I'm using one of the backing fabrics that had the tape measure and all running through it. I swear, if I ever find time to get them made, they're going to be on that window. I keep telling myself this is the week and it hasn't been so yet, so it's on the top of my list. Anyway, the sun was glaring so badly into the camera that I slid the quilt over today, so I'll have to go behind the curtain when I get to sew, but the other camera over that will catch all of that. All righty, so Monday, Patches and Pieces. This week, the construction of this week's block is based on a really traditional block, the pinwheel. We've probably all done pinwheels. Make 4 half square triangles, put them together in a rotated way, and you look like you have a pinwheel, or what we called when I was a kid a whirligig in there. And those are great. They're fairly simple. They're a great beginner block. Well, we're going to give that block a little bit of a twist and a turn, add to it, and make a double pinwheel today. And the double pinwheel is a great block for adding movement into your quilt. So like if I looked at this quilt right here, I would not say this quilt has a lot of movement. Every piece is a lovely flower. They're different colored flowers, so it looks like a flower garden, but it doesn't make your eye, even though they're different colors, your eyes don't just kind of roam all over it and kind of see things in it. But with a double pinwheel, you can kind of see I think, kind of that swirly effect in it. Do you remember back in the 1990s? I know that seems like forever ago. It doesn't for me, but for some of you, it might be forever ago. We had those 3D pictures that you could purchase. And when you stared into it, you stared and kind of let your eyes go blurry, you would see a secondary picture in there. Well, your double pinwheel kind of does that. It's another pinwheel, but it kind of has a smaller pinwheel and a larger pinwheel. And I'm going to show you here in just a second. I love quilts like that, quilts that have movement or secondary patterns in them. This quilt definitely does not have a secondary pattern in it, right? Excuse me, just one second. My large ironing mat had fallen on the floor. This quilt definitely is not a pattern in a pattern. You can kind of get that with the double pinwheel. And I love blocks like that. I love to see quilts where you see, when you first look at it, you see one main pattern. And then if you kind of look at it again, you can see like a whole another secondary pattern in it. I just love them. And that's kind of what the double pinwheel does for us. It's great if you want to use it in corners of a quilt. It's great if you wanted to make a large one for a center kind of medallion on a quilt. Or you could do a whole quilt of these. I think a whole quilt of these would be super fun. Don't be surprised if you see one show up someday on my website or on my Facebook page or here on YouTube, because I'm really thinking that I'm heading down that road. I really like this. So let me flip the camera over. I'm going to share with you the fabric that I'm using today, because it is a newer fabric line. So I do believe you can still find it. So let me show it to you. Flip that camera right over. Here we go. Here's our double pinwheel. So because I use some darker and lighter fabrics, you can instantly see this pinwheel made with this dark navy, little white. Isn't that cute? I love these little ditzy prints like this with a little, this is like a little daisy in here. I just love it. And then if you look at the inner, whoops, the inner piece here, that's our secondary pinwheel. So pinwheel in a pinwheel, right? So again, this is a really simple block. Fabric. This is by Kimberbell Designs. It is Kim Christopherson's company, and I do believe this is her latest. This is the most brand new line that she has out. So you should still be able to get it. And I think it's called Blossoms and Blooms or Red, White, and Blooms. Red, White, and Blooms, I know, is a pattern that she has out with it, but that's the idea. Blooms, Red, White, and Blooms, Blossoms and Blooms, something like that. But it should be able, if you go to a local quilt shop, or if you go onto one of the big online quilt stores that sells fabric like Fat Quarter Shop or Missouri Star Quilt Company, something like that, you will be able to find this. Just look up Kimberbell Designs. Kim doesn't put out, she has a basics collection, and then she has collections that she does for specific quilts throughout the year. This is her latest one, so it'll be easy to find. You'll see it. This flower pattern here is just one of my absolute favorites, and it comes in also where this is a yellow background with a white dot, and these flowers, this comes with a red background and pink daisies. I mean, it's really pretty. So there's lots of different fabrics in it, but I chose these three for today because I thought pinwheels and flowers together would be pretty. That's just neat. So this quilt is, or this block is really quite simple to make. And I know that it looks like it's complicated. It really isn't. Let me tell you what you need. The information is listed in the description, as I said before, but you're going to need 2 7x7 background squares. And my background square is my dark blue with the white daisy on it, 2 7x7s. In fabric A, you're going to need 2 7 1/4 by 7 1/4 inch blocks. And in fabric B, you're going to need 2 7 1/4 by 7 1/4 inch blocks. So only 3 fabrics is needed. 2 7x7 backgrounds, 2 7¼ by 7¼ fabric A, and 2 7¼ by 7¼ fabric B. That's all. And this block is really, all it is you might know it as a modified quarter square triangle. I call these triple triangle blocks because we have half square triangles. Quarter square triangles would be 2 of those sewn together. Well, this block, modified quarter square, it's called sometimes, you can tell is a half square triangle, 1 piece triangle here, and then a quarter square piece here, which are your 2 smaller triangles. So super simple to do. We're technically going to make 8 of these, and you're going to end up with 2 of these blocks. And I'll show you why. When we make the quarter square part of this triple triangle, you're going to end up with, out of the 8 that will be made, you'll end up with 4 that has the flowers on one side, the solid on the other, and then 4 more that will be flipped. So fabric A will be on this side and fabric B will be on this side. So because when you make 1 of these, you end up with 2 like this and 2 in the opposite directions. That's why we make 2 sets or 2 of these bigger blocks with it. I'm sure that was as clear as mud, but you'll see as we go. So we're going to set our sample block aside at the moment, and we're going to start by making our quarter square triangle pieces. So we're going to take our 1 fabric A and 1 fabric B, and we're going to put them together right sides together, or pretty sides together. Okay. Oops, it looks like I didn't trim this one. I thought I had, and then I thought, no, I did. No, I didn't. I couldn't remember, so I just thought I'd wait. Sure enough, I hadn't trimmed that one. So we have 2 7¼ inch squares, that 1 fabric A and B, right sides together. Now, we're going to mark these blocks, or this top block, as if we're going to make half square triangles. Now, I use one of these half square triangle tools. There are several brands made. This one is made by OmniGrid for Fawns and Porter. I got another one over here. This is a Creative Grids one. I've got different sizes. These are actually going to be in this week's Good Gadgets. So if you want to know more about these. But what these do for you, I love them. Okay. So what you're going to do is line up this corner right here. And this center line right on the corner down here. I'm going to show you what to do if you don't have these. And then you're just going to make a line, a sewing line. These are going to be sewing lines down the edge on each side. I'm using a heat erasable pen. You can use chalk, you can use a pencil, whatever you like. And when I lift that, these are now my sewing lines. So I'm going to sew down this one and down this one, and then you'll see what we're going to do. If you don't have one of these, please don't worry about that. Take a regular, I'm going to flip this over so it's easier for you to see. Take a regular template, place it in your upper corner and your lower corner, just like that. Again, using a heat erasable pen or whatever you like to mark with. Make a mark, a diagonal mark right across that block. Then when you go to your sewing machine, you're going to sew a 1/4 inch from the center line on the left and a 1/4 inch from the center line on the right, which is exactly what I'm doing here. You will be sewing these lines based off of a center line where I've marked those 2 lines. That's the only difference. Okay. Make sure those are all. I'm going to flip the camera. We're going to go to the sewing machine. And we're going to, let's see this. Yes, I can. Okay. I'm using a 8012 Schmetz 8012 anti-glue needle. Just because I like the anti-glue needles and I use them if I can for just about everything, regardless of the size. I'm using a standard 2.5 stitch length. You could use a 2.0. I just tend to use a 2.5, and I'm using an Aurifil thread in white. I normally use this Dove gray, but I had white in my machine already. It's I believe it's a 50 weight Aurifil. Yeah, 50 weight Aurifil. It's an Italian 100% cotton thread. Very low fuzz comes off of this. That's one of the really nice reasons to use it. Doesn't clog up your machine quite so badly because you don't get the fuzz and the dust coming off of it like you can with other cotton threads. And when I use 100% cotton fabric, I use 100% cotton thread. Can you use polyester thread? Yes, you can. I'm just going to recommend that whatever you use for your top thread, you use for your bobbin, so that, you know, any shrinkage and things will, that both threads will act the same. I use 100% cotton. That's the way I've always been taught. There are reasons, I mean, after 55 plus years of quilting, there are reasons to use cotton thread with cotton fabric. And it really has to do with how your quilt will turn out after it's been laundered, and how your seams will hold together. Polyester is a very strong thread, and I find sometimes it's a little too strong for cotton, but you can certainly use it. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm just sewing down one line. And that's what I love about this. So I'm using my walking foot, and I don't have to worry about checking a 1/4 inch or anything like that, because I'm just sewing straight down that line. Now I'm just going to flip it around. I'm not even going to cut my thread. I'm just going to flip it around and sew down the second line. Okay. And we'll clip the ends here. And now I'll flip back around to this one that I didn't cut, and I'll just trim that little loop of thread off. Now we can come back over to our other cameras. So some of you know that I've been learning a new system for live streaming and all. And the nice thing about that system is when I switch my cameras right now with the system I'm using today, they go in sequence. So I always have to go to me, to the overhead camera, to the sewing machine, and back to me, even if I wanted to go directly back to the overhead camera. With the new system I'm learning, I can choose what camera I want and pick it directly. I love that. It's going to be so much nicer. I think you guys will like it better too. So we're going to flip back to the overhead camera. Here we go. Okay, so I've sewed down both lines. Now, just, oops, I have a little bit of fabric here, or a little bit of thread here that I didn't catch. Snip that. So now we're going to cut this just like we would a half square triangle. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put my 1/4 inch mark from my ruler right on. Now I do it on the right side because I'm left-handed. You might, if you're a righty, place your 1/4 inch mark on the left hand sewn line and cut with your right hand. So if that confuses you, it's because I'm a lefty. So I'm lining up my 1/4 inch right on the sewn line. I'm going to take my standard rotary cutter, a 45 mil. Doesn't matter what brand you use, just have a good blade. And then when we pick that up, boom, we have basically two nicely made half square triangles. Let me bring my mini pressing mat over. It's kind of actually, I'm going to put that right there. I'm going to bring up my big mat because it's so much easier to use. My table here is a little has a little bit of stuff on it from doing some projects, and so I've had this sitting next to me. All right, so here we go. We're going to press open our half square triangle. So we're going to set our seam, and then I typically flip to the darker side, and with these two fabrics, I'm choosing this more solid one. It's actually a word print, but I'm choosing it to be my darker fabric in this because they're really about the same value. But I would say flip your darker one over and press to the dark side. And I'm just going to plop my Taylor's clapper on there. How this is used and what this is for is on last week's Good Gadget video. So if you want to know more about a sewing clapper or a Taylor's clapper, you can find that information on last week's video. Now we're going to do that again with our second half square triangle. Set our seam, and you notice when I set my seam, the pen mark went away, just as advertised. And that's what we want our gadgets and tools to do, what they're advertised to do, right? Sometimes we find out that they can do more things for us than what's advertised, and that's always nice too. I really like when I use tools if they can be used for more than one thing, because then, I know I'm really getting my pennies worth out of them or dollars worth. Okay, now we have our lovely two half square triangles. I'm not even going to worry about taking my dog ears off at this point. Okay, so now we're going to bring in one of our solid 7-inch squares or our background fabric blocks, and we're going to put them together. I didn't trim up my blue either. Hang on, I'm going to trim my blue up really quickly. I've been having a allergy attack and a headache all day, and so it's made me goofy. Yeah. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make these into our finished triple triangle block. Okay. So again, if you have a tool for measuring out your sewing lines for your half square triangles, or you can do the 1/4 inch on each side of the center line like I showed you a moment ago. There we go. Now we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and we are going to, again, sew down both lines, and then once we've sewn, we will line up our 1/4 inch mark on the sewing line, and we will cut. Okay, I'm not going to go back over to the machine to do that at the moment, but that's what you're going to do, that with all of these blocks and all of your background blocks. Okay. And what you're going to end up with are 8 triple triangle blocks. And you're going to match up all of your blocks so that you have 4 of them where your 1/4 square side is all going in the same direction. So you'll have one set that'll look this way and one set where these will be flipped. Okay. You're going to square all of these up to 6 inches. You can use a square up ruler, a block ruler, however you square up your pieces. Then, once you're done, you're going to end up taking these and placing them in the order. I'll go over that with you in a second. So your upper left block has your background fabric in the top right position. Your right hand block has the background piece in the bottom right position. Your lower right block has your background block in the lower left position, so upper right, lower left. And your final block in the lower left has your background fabric in the upper left position. And there you have your large pinwheel and your smaller pinwheel. So your double pinwheel. Then all you do is flip them over, 1/4 inch seam. Everything is a 1/4 inch seam in this project. As in all piecing, unless I ever tell you otherwise, it's 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch. Hold those two together, 1/4 inch, unfold. Then you'll take this row on top of this row, 1/4 inch this way, unfold, and we'll end up with our block. Now, I'm going to sew this together, but I want to show you. So in this one, I have it so that my small pinwheel is just like in my sample. The smaller one is my big blossoms, my big flowers. So what you're going to get also is the ability. So this one, there we go. I'm moving these around so that the secondary block is now here. All righty, there. Nope, I just did that wrong. This gives us our second block, where we have this other fabric. Our B fabric is our inner pinwheel. So here we have small pinwheel and small pinwheel, and our background fabric is out here on the outside edge. Okay. So you're going to get one that looks like this and one that looks like that. And look how those look when you put them together. You even start getting other patterns coming through here from how your background fabrics will come together. Lots of movement in this quote block. Okie doke. So let's go back to our original lineup. It always takes me a second. Does it take you a second too when you do your, I think we're there. When you do your pinwheels to make sure you have them in the right order? It always takes me a minute. There we go. There we go. And there we go. There. So we're back to our large pinwheel, small pinwheel. All right. So again, we'll sew these together. And they'll have a row like this. We'll sew these two together. We'll have a row like this. We'll flip and sew them together, and we'll end up with our double pinwheel. And then you just want to square this up to 10.5 inches. And that is your double pinwheel block. Let me just flip the camera back around. See, now I'm going through the cameras there, and here we go. All righty, so Double Pinwheel Block. You get 2 blocks. You get this one, and you get the 2 smaller pinwheels working around each other with the background fabric to the outside. So by making those 2, I mean, with 2, 4, 6 blocks that you start with, you end up with 2 of these blocks. So this could be a quilt that comes together really quickly and easily. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. Leave a comment if you like. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the idea of learning about new blocks each week. And hit that little, click that little bell to get the notifications when I put in new content. Don't forget to go check out Good Gadgets from last week, where one of the things I talked about was the clapper, Taylor's clapper. And the other thing I talked about were what's in these. What are these little double-ended pins all about? There's one other piece I talked about last week too. Oh, was it now? You'll have to go see the video. I don't remember what the third one was now, but go check that out as well. Join me every Monday, please, if you have the time, at 1 o'clock Central Time in the US. That's 7 p.m. in the UK. And I am always very, very honored that you all spend a little bit of your time with me. There are hundreds, I was going to say dozens, but I believe there's hundreds of videos on the internet and groups and demonstrations and all regarding quilting. Quilting has been a part of my life for 55 plus years, and I love it. This, I was telling you about this earlier. This was a very first quilt I ever made with my grandma when I was 5 years old. Obviously, I didn't make the whole quilt, but part of that I sewed all by hand, because that's what we did back then. We didn't do machine quilting back then. But even these can be made today on machines, and it's so it has always been my favorite quilt, of course. Anyway. If you love quilting like I do, please join me. And I'm always just thrilled when you do. So have a great week, and I'll see you next Monday. And I'll be putting out either later today or Tuesday. I'm going to be putting out this week's Good Gadgets video, because I have another one that I'm getting ready. Okay, everybody. Love to you all. Enjoy your quilting. Bye now.